Hello, this is Annie. I'm back again with one of these The Sims 4 to The Sims 2 conversion buildings. I'm making these videos in an attempt to become a better builder in The Sims 2, and I'm sure that there are a lot of things that I can learn from buildings in The Sims 4. This time I'm converting a building made by Sunnysimsie, and it is a beautiful Tudor home, and a lot less modern than the previous build I made. So right off the bat, I am using my dear sheets in order to make a split level entrance in the house. And I had a little bit of trouble starting off because those stairs didn't want to be where I wanted them. So it turned out that I had to remove one of those foundations and then add them back later in order to place the stairs. And I'm combining both the normal foundations and also the stage in order to be able to use that split level wall. It doesn't look perfect, but I think that it looks good enough. And here I'm recreating that interesting roof that Sunnysimsie created in her build. I couldn't create it for all of the roofs, unfortunately, because of the limitations of the game. At least I couldn't find a way to do it. So I started by creating a 4 clicks high wall that I placed the first sloping roof on top of, and then I added another 2 separate sloping roofs on the side, so that I could adjust the roof angle on all 3 of them. And it turned out well, I think. And yeah, here I realized that I had messed up. So I had to remove some things, and using the constrained floor elevation sheet, you don't really want to redo a lot of stuff. So yeah, you can see a lot of very strange things happening right now, but in the end I managed to fix it. So yeah, but yeah, you really don't want to mess that up if you can help it, because fixing it takes a lot of effort. But I managed to complete it in the end. I couldn't find a good black roof pattern, unfortunately. Because the ones I had were either too blue or too bright, so I ended up going with this one that is the same sort of roof, even though it's not exactly the same. And here I am adding some details to the sides. I chose not to use the siding that you have already in the game, because even though it looked similar, it didn't have the right feel to it, really. So I used these custom walls instead. And here I'm fiddling around a bit with the fireplace. I started out placing it on the side of the house. It doesn't look perfect because you can see it through the window. But I will change that later, because once I got to the interior, I realized that it couldn't be situated where I had placed it. And here we get to the windows. I realized that I wouldn't be able to put down the windows normally here, but if you use these types of windows that are painted, you can actually fiddle around a bit with snap objects to grid, that cheat. Because you can't really see the wall through it anyway, because the window itself is not see-through. And here I'm using OMSPs to recreate that sort of, well, surrounding wall. I'm not sure what to call it, but it looks really cool, I think. This is a perfect example of something that I would never have thought of to do if I hadn't tried to recreate a building. So this was really fascinating, how this turned out. Normally in The Sims you have these walls that cut down when you enter the house, if you have the walls halfway up, that is. But these details stay up no matter what, so it gives a completely different feel to the build to have those details. And it looks really cool. Yeah, and I added these columns. I think that Sunnysimsie used some sort of stones that she placed one by one on the sides. But I figured that these columns would look good enough, or similar enough, that is. And now I'm starting to add in the windows. I was going through the video part itself, not the after pictures when I built this, so unfortunately everything will not be exactly the way they turned out to be at the end, because, well, I should have looked at those more, I think, than the actual speed build, but it was a bit easier to look at the video because those images were more, 3D for one thing and more close-up. So some things will be a little bit different, unfortunately. And then we get around to the backside. As you can see, this lot is not the same size that she used. She used a 20 by 30, and this is a 30 by 30. The reason why I had to do that is because I need to create the house so close to the right side. So there will only be one tile available once I have finished with the build. So I will adjust that with the lot adjuster later in order to fix that. So that's why you see a lot of extra space to the right now. And here I'm adding a lot of the greenery. This is another example of another The Sims 4 player who has used the same sort of 5 or 6 plants all around the house. And again, it looks really uniform and nice that way, but to me, not that realistic. I probably wouldn't do this if I wanted to make a very realistic house, but it looks really nice this way. And this is the side that I really like by that driveway. I think that looks really nice. That's something that I do a lot in my own builds too, frame off the lot that way without using a fence. And here we get to one part of the video that I really enjoyed, and that was creating this ivy-covered wall and a lot of plants that were hanging down. I thought it looked really beautiful, and yeah, this is something that I would love to implement in my own builds, if possible, as well. It looks really nice. And here, of course, we have some terrain paint. I like putting down the terrain paint around the house foundation and underneath plants whenever possible, because to me that looks a bit more realistic, like somewhere where you would see some variation in texture and some dirt instead of grass everywhere. And this is another thing that I have only seen in the Sims 4 builds, I think, and that is placing down a lot of rocks everywhere, and that is actually quite nice. I had never really thought about it before watching speed builds from the Sims 4, but using rocks among the plants really makes it look a lot more, I don't know, lived in, I guess, or more organic, I think is a good word for it. So yeah, that might be something that I could use in my own buildings as well. And now we're moving into the inside of the house. I could not find anything that was the exact same color for the kitchen tile, but I think I got the feeling of it right, at least. It's a bit more yellow, I think. Hers were a bit more red in the tone. But yeah, I think it turned out well anyway. And then I used this wallpaper that was similar in color at least. But then I had to use another type of wallpaper for that part of the room. And the reason for that is because I used the constraint floor elevation sheet to create that wall. And if you noticed on the outside of the house when I used the brick, the sides where I had used that sheet were like a bit twisted to the side, and the same thing would have happened to the tapestry if I had used that. So, or the wallpaper, I think it's called. So I used the wood instead. And now I have shrunk the lot, and when you do that, you have to remove an extra road if you have that, and some things will also be pushed in. One thing that might be pushed in is the windows, and it is extremely important to put down floor tiles on the side of the house before you shrink the lot if you have a window that needs to be that close to the edge. Because if you don't have the floor tile, you will not be able to place it back again, because it will just be a window with the wall shining through, so you won't be able to see through it. So yeah, if you ever try that, remember to do that. Yeah, and now we move into the kitchen. Sunnysimsie had actually used some cupboards that were a lot lighter in color than the counters, but when I tried it out, it didn't look right to me. So I decided not to copy that exactly. And I decided to use some shelves here instead of trying to find a side unit. So yeah, I think that, well, I like doing that because you can put in whatever you want on those shelves and it looks very personal that way. And that's one example of a window that I put down that were in that position in the video when I watched it, but in the after photos, that window to the right of the kitchen is not going to be there. So that's one example of something that's not going to be the same. But I really like this sort of rustic feel that this building has. I think that those, is it checkered? Curtains looked really nice. I'm not sure if you caught that, but I used two types of OMSPs in order to place down those cut boards. And the first one was a 90 degrees one that turned it in 90 degrees. And then I also put that OMSP on top of a 22 degrees angle, so that it's leaning a bit backwards. So you can actually stack OMSPs, and that's something that I only learned very recently. So that's really cool, I think. So yeah, those cutting boards are lying down on the counter normally, but it's the OMSPs that are doing the heavy lifting to place them like that. So that's a tip if you would like to try it. And here I'm just adding a lot of those personal decorations. I took forever to try to find tea bags that looked nice, but in the end I managed to find some, so I was happy with that. And then I also spent some time trying to find a good container of stuff that I could put on top of the fridge, but in the end I had to give up and just put down a tray and some pots. So yeah, it worked out in the end. Yeah, I found some nice wall decorations after going through my long list of custom content, of course. And also some nice rugs, finally. I cut out a lot of this because it took so long time. And then this fish tank, of course. I managed to put it in a way that I think that they will be able to use the trash bin. So I was happy with that. And I also had to fiddle around with the table because from experience playing, I know that the chairs are very sensitive to doors and the doorways. So I put the table a bit further into the room just so that I would be confident that it would be able to be used properly. Yeah, and here I am changing things around to give a bit more space in the living room part. And ironically, this didn't really help a lot. When I play test this lot, I got a lot of routing errors in that living room anyway. So yeah, this type of cramped space in combination with the split level is a bit tricky, I think. And if you're going to play this sort of house, you probably are going to have to do quite a bit of trial and error to get it to work. I mean, it looks nice, at least, so that's something, but yeah, I'm not really happy with the fact that it can't be used properly. And yeah, I tried to find some nice red chairs that I could use, but the only ones I had didn't really have the right feel to them, so I used these ones instead that had that same type of high back. And I think that those are not able to be used when they are on the side, twisted to the side like that. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I had routing errors. And also that coffee table. If I could redo this, I think I would have used a one tile table instead and put it on a walk-around block. That probably would have solved a lot of the issues I had. But yeah, not all, I think. There were a lot of things going on. But yeah, we have these decorations, and of course I can't have a window above the fireplace. I suppose the fireplace in the Sims 4 build must have been a decorative one, because I'm not sure where the smoke would have gone otherwise. But yeah, this is my version of it. And I put down a painting instead above it. And it sort of looks a little bit like a window, I think. So that was fine with me. Yeah, this entryway is also quite cramped, but it actually worked perfectly. There were no issues with this. So yeah, using this kind of entryway is actually more usable than I thought it would be. So that might be something that I try in future for my builds in The Sims 2. Yeah, this is also an example of how homely and nice things look. I really like this style of decorating. Yeah, I changed the door around. I still can't really wrap my head around whether it's a 2-tile or a 1-tile door in that position. From the inside, it looks like a 2-tile. From the outside, it looks like a 1-tile. So yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there. But I made it a 2-tile in the end, because that looked better from the inside anyway. And yeah, this is the bedroom. And I tried a bunch of different things here to make it look right. And it took quite a while to find the perfect bedding. If you have ever used the Genesis bed blankets, you will know that you spend forever trying to find the perfect one. And that was the case for me as well. But they are really, really beautiful, so it's definitely worth it. And I used these bed OMSPs that are already the correct height. I really like them. That saves a lot of time. And yeah, here I sort of sat and stared at the screen for a while and realized that the color for the windows was really, really off. I had to change that, and I decided to go with a black bed instead of a white one, because that looked more similar to Sunnysimsie's build. And yeah, I think it looks really nice that way. And here I try to find a good rug, and then I did something that I had never done before. I decided to try to use the small wardrobes from IKEA stuff and sort of put them together and created a big 3-tile one. And it actually turned out really, really nice. I was surprised by this one because I use these ones a lot because they are very good to fit into cramped spaces. But they actually look really cool when they're like that. And the best thing is that they are all usable also. So yeah, that surprised me a bit. So I'll definitely be using that in my buildings in future. And this is another example of a room that has, or a house rather, that has the same wallpaper in a lot of the rooms. And that is something that I have seen in a lot of the Sims 4 builds as well. And I actually don't really like that. I dislike having the same wallpaper everywhere, and I think that might be because I'm Swedish. We have white everywhere in every room, and it's yeah, I really don't like having every room look exactly the same that way. So yeah, that's something that I will not be bringing with me to my own builds. But yeah, I actually also found some blankets to hang over the backs of those armchairs. They don't fit exactly, so there is some clipping as well, but not too bad. I think it looks all right, and it gave it a more homely feel as well. So I think it was worth it in the end. And now we have moved on to the bathroom. This is one of the rooms that look very different in the after pictures, or well, it has a lot more stuff that I didn't see. I'm not sure if it was that I missed it or if it was added for the after pictures. But yeah, I think it's like one plant, and yeah, come to think of it, there's a wall cupboard above the toilet that I couldn't find, so I chose to not put anything there. But yeah, there's some blinds too, I think, that I didn't see, so those will not be in my building, unfortunately. But otherwise, I think that it turned out quite good, and I really like the layout of this bathroom, because bathrooms tend to be very cramped often, but it feels like Sunnysimsie paid a lot of attention to this bathroom to make it seem very cozy and homely. So I really like that. Bathrooms are rooms too, you know. So yeah, I really like using this cupboard. It makes it look a lot more homely, I think. And yeah, there's a rug as well. I really like placing rugs in front of either tubs or showers, because that feels like something that you would see in real life. And in this case, I like that it wasn't placed in front of the shower, because there's the toilet as well. And of course, you don't want to have a rug in front of the toilet. So that made perfect sense to me. Yeah, so quite a lot of the house has been done now. So I am finishing up some things on the outside of the house right now. I realized that I had missed some things here on the side. And I think it might have been a woodworking bench or something like that Sunnysimsie had used. But since we don't have that in The Sims 2, I think that the flower bench was made the most sense to me, at least. And yeah, this patio looks a bit different, of course, because of that window, but I think it turned out really cozy anyway. And yeah, using rugs on this sort of patio is something that I have never done before. And I think it looks really nice. like that. Perhaps not the most practical thing, but I mean, imagine sitting out there on a warm summer evening. That would be really, really nice with those rugs as well. Yeah, so I'm adding the car right now and finishing up some other things that I had missed on the exterior. I saw in the after pictures that there was actually a tree there as well that I missed. Not sure if that was just in the after pictures though, might have been. And here I'm adding some custom planting pots. And I really like these ones because you can actually plant stuff in them and it turns out really nice. So sometimes I use them on balconies, for example, in apartment buildings and things like that. So yeah, that's a really nice thing to add. And now I'm moving on to the lights in the house. And yeah, this split level was a big challenge. And it always is. That's one of the downsides with messing around with the constrained floor elevation sheet and making split levels like this. Because it's really difficult to get the lighting to look good. But yeah, I think that it turned out okay in the end. There's still a quite sharp line where the wall cuts off, but I think it turned out fine. Anyway, so the whole room is lit anyway. That's the important part. Yeah, and there's a lot of lights on the exterior. Yeah, and that is the last thing that I did. I removed those floor tiles so that they won't be there. But I cannot move the window now. That is very important because then everything will be ruined. So yeah, I hope that you liked this building and please check out Sunnysimsie's videos as well. She's really talented. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.